Welcome, everyone. Finally, we have got it sorted. Delighted to have Sarah Reynolds from Organised Chaos here with us today on Living Legacies Conversations. This is a weekly conversation that we have with fascinating people who have really grabbed our attention, that we want to share their insights and their tips for how you can live a better life, but also prepare for the things and the unexpected, and then help you build and live your legacy. So, Sarah, welcome along.
Wow. Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my goodness, I'm delighted to have you here. So I suppose for those of us that, may not have had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last while, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. My name is Sarah Reynolds and I run organizechaos.ie, and we help people to declutter and organize any area of their home, work, or life.
How?
So with regards to the home, we will go in and we will declutter and organize any space, from a bedroom to a kitchen to a house move. And then with regards work and life, we look at productivity and your time management as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And like that must cover a lot. Like, how do you do that in such a, I suppose I can't imagine you're there for weeks or months on end. Are you literally with people for a couple of hours, a couple of days, or how does it work?
Well, with regards to time and productivity management and that, then they could be 60 to 90-minute sessions, and then you book multiple sessions, over a couple of weeks, depending on what your goal is. But then with regards to the decluttering of your home, we do 6-hour session blocks. So we go in for a day essentially. But the number of days really depends on how much stuff you have and how much of a declutter that you want to do.
Okay. And what do you find are what's the main instigation for people that do decluttering? Like, is it a house move? Is it, I suppose a change or a chapter of life? What are the main reasons that people will come and benefit from the work that you do?
Yeah, like people are usually going through some sort of transition period when their home really comes into focus. That could be a house move, or it could be a new baby, or it could be they've just finished studying, for example, for the last number of years. Maybe they've retired from work, maybe they've got a new job. So it's usually they've either just come through that transition period or they are going through it. And so home, all of a sudden, all the stuff that's in their house is just, they're much more hyper aware of it now.
Yeah. So one of the things that, like with Living Legacy, like our focus is to help people really take stock of their lives, get the time to reflect and look at what's important to them, so that if they get things like their advanced plans, end of life plans, different things like that, that they can do that while they're maybe at that point of really at a crossroads in their life. One of the things that I would always recommend people do is that declutter, to actually look at what are all the things in their life that's connected to them. So we've had Kate Huffnagel from the Digital Wrangler was on before, talking about the digital legacy. What are all the things that are connected to you online? For your work, then it's all that kind of the physicality of what's connected to you. And I know from me having, like, I moved house there about 6 months ago. So there was really that need to go through every single piece of paper, every single item of clothing. I went a bit crazy because I ended up giving away, I think, most of my wardrobe, and realized I left myself with just work clothes. So it's the great opportunity to now look at kind of what clothes would I like maybe to fill my wardrobe with. What are the biggest blocks that you find that people have in kind of addressing the decluttering?
I think there's a few blocks. So one is their time. It's very difficult to find time to do the decluttering. The second thing is that they get focused in on the wrong items. So they might, for example, absolutely love their clothes, but they have so much of it, and they get themselves into a panic about their clothes, or it could be their books, or it could be their record collection. Whereas there's plenty of other categories of items in a house that you can focus on in order to make a shift in your life. And then when you get into a bit more of a rhythm, then you can focus on the more difficult things. And then decision making as well. We question ourselves and worry about, what if I need this in the future? And, what if I'm making the wrong decision here and not sure what the right one is, and trying to do everything perfect. So that's another block.
And I think a lot of it is really down to mindset as well, because I know for me, I've moved so many times. I've lived around the world. I have brought the same boxes of books with me from Ireland to Jamaica to Haiti to Ireland to Papua New Guinea, back again, and still hadn't read a lot of the books. So it was that thing of how to recognize when it's time to maybe let something go, and when is there are still some books that I kept because I'm determined that I will read them one day. But I suppose I now just have a bookshelf of those books staring at me in my bedroom, that it's that thing of, right, I need to read them, and if I haven't within a year, then they need to go. It must be a very exciting job. It must be really exciting to actually help people clear the decks.
I think it's exciting to see the result at the end.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether exciting is the word I would use at the start of the process.
Yeah, okay.
Certainly clients wouldn't use that word. Because we do say that they're excited to get started.
Yeah.
It is very overwhelming and quite emotional. And it's hard work, to do the declutter. I think once you get away from the constant cycle loop of decluttering and too much stuff and the anxiety and overwhelm that's around that, and you move into organization and setting up systems, then it starts to get much more exciting, because now you're starting to see the shape of things, not only around the house, but in your mind and in your life. And that's when it starts getting even more motivating and more exciting. So certainly to start with, the feeling of excitement is probably not there. But then again, the feeling of excitement and apprehension is quite a similar feeling. So, but then as soon as you start to get into it and you start to see the results and the motivation, then you're like, yeah, okay, let's go. And it gets more exciting.
And what motivated you to start doing this work?
I always loved organizing.
Yeah.
Decluttering, not so much. I'm like everybody else. Nobody wants to spend Saturday afternoon decluttering their stuff, but it is a necessary evil in order to have the life that you want to have. But I love organizing, and I love the feeling that organization can give to your life and your home. And I just think it's beautiful as well. I think it can look so gorgeous. And that makes me happy. So that's why I started it.
And I suppose makes everybody else happy when you get, as you say, the end result as well. Now, can I just ask, you wrote an amazing book, was it in 2018, called Organised? And obviously that's something that'll be part of your legacy. And here, obviously at Living Legacy, that's one of the things that we ask people is like to really consider, what is your legacy lived to date and what's your legacy yet to create? In terms of the actual compiling of that book, there's obviously a lot of organization required for that. How did you know what to put in or maybe what to leave out of the book?
So I approached the book like the way I used to approach exam. When I was in college, if I was writing assignments or something like that. So sorry, you probably can hear me.
That's quite all right. Welcome along.
You're wondering what that weird noise was. It's my cat. So what I ended up doing with the book was I put all of my ideas in and then decluttered them out, essentially, so I wanted to see absolutely everything that I felt people could benefit from, and then from there how to reduce it. How did I reduce it? I was told the word count was too high.
Okay, well, that's one way.
I had to reduce it, otherwise people would have been there forever reading it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, I think it's one of those things as well that you can dip in and out of. So again, when you're thinking about decluttering or really trying to clear the decks, as you say, it's really overwhelming. So it's that thing of starting with one thing, start small, pick one thing, do that and move on to the next one. Having something like Organised as that backup book helps to kind of keep you motivated, that you can kind of refer to it.
Exactly. And that was really one of the best pieces of feedback I got off the book, which I wasn't expecting at all, and it was fantastic. It's that people can I thought it, like any other book, people would read it sort of like from start to finish, but in actual fact they're dipping in and out of it. If they're sorting the bedroom out, they'll have a look at the bedroom chapter. If they're sorting the kitchen out, they'll have a look at the kitchen chapter. So that's great, and it's great that it can be used that way.
Yeah, and I know, like I'm the daughter of two parents, one who loves to throw things away and another one that likes to keep things. So it's very interesting to actually have the mix of the two, because again, there's a lot of things that I've kept that I really treasure, but recognizing as well what are the mementos that I know I will enjoy looking at. One thing that I was speaking to Kate Huffnagel last week in our Living Legacy conversations was about photos. And I know that's something you touch on as well, is that, and I did see a post actually on your Instagram, which is that thing about sorting through the photos, and some of it could be digitizing, but actually for me, mine is more about the taking it off the computer, printing it and having the copy, but getting rid of the photos that you like, they're duplicates so you don't use them. And Kate referred last week as, she said something like, on average, Americans take 7,000 photographs a year. And a lot of them, I know, like my aging eyes, I take photographs of labels and then zoom in to see what the label actually says. What are the things that you would recommend for people to, I suppose, deal with when they're looking at photographs?
I mean, I think what I've sort of started to do lately with my own photographs that are on my phone is, at the end of the day, no, I'm not going to remember to do this every day, but at the end of the day, I do run through the day's photos of, like you say, you take a photo of a label or something like that, or you take a screenshot of something to send to your partner. I'll delete all those. And so if you can try and get rid of the rubbishy sort of photos out of my phone, I'm trying to do that on a near daily basis to get rid of those at least. But I think that, yeah, I'm like you as well. I really, really want to get, so I digitized the family videos, but I really want to get the photos off the computer and off the phone into albums. So that is, I mean, the thing is I think a photo project is actually a time project. You have to sort of make an appointment with yourself as to when you're going to do this for a certain number of days or a certain number of weeks. Like, for example, is there a specific family event coming up that you would use that as a deadline and then focus your work, getting photos done? Even, and not necessarily have to be family photos, but you're just using this family event as a deadline to work towards, because otherwise you can be sort of tipping in and out of this for ages, So I think giving yourself a deadline is really important with any project, but especially with photos. If that's something that you really want to do. And then, a combination of looking at the different tasks that are around this. So you're going to have to go through your folders and your photos that are online and identify which ones are for print. Yeah. Then you're going to have to do the active print, and then you're going to have to source the albums. So those are three different tasks that you don't have to do online. You can do a little bit of one and then a little bit of another and a little bit of another, depending on the night in question.
So I think that's really a valid point as well, because again, photographs accumulate. And so it's those things of, we think we'll get back to looking at it. I recently thought that I had lost 7 years of photographs because I moved laptops. Thankfully found them. But again, the same thing. So many photographs that are no longer relevant. When it comes to the bigger kind of moves, like you had a lovely photo about, or story about helping somebody who was downsizing. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I think our downsizing projects are so lovely, because it's such a journey, for the client, but also for us as well, because it could be 30, 40, 50 years worth of stuff, never mind memories in a house. And so this is a big project for the client in question. And it's great to come in and help them. So recently we were helping an older Scottish lady, and we were going through the various different rooms in her house. And one afternoon we were in the living room and we were going through all of the tablecloths and napkins, but there was so many beautiful Scottish lace pieces that she would tell us all about. Oh, this came from my granny's, or this came from something. And it was lovely because it gave her, by showing us and teaching us about the history of these pieces, it was allowing her to decide whether or not she was going to keep them and let them go. So it wasn't this rushed, oh my God, I'm about to move out and this is really stressful, and what will I keep and what will I let go of? We were able to take the time and honor the memory that was around this item, and then either decide it's going to stay and we'll give it to the whichever family member she decided, or we're going to let it go.
Hopefully. I think that's such a gorgeous thing to do. And it must be such a privilege for you to be part of somebody's exploration of all of the things that they've accumulated over the years and what the stories are behind it.
Absolutely. Oh, big time, because I mean, like, you always realize how privileged you are to walk into somebody's house. It's a very vulnerable job that we do, like vulnerable for the client. And so we're hyper aware of that. But then every now and then you get a project like that where they're explaining where different items come from, and you're like going, oh wow, this is actually just really nice to be part of this process, and honor everything that has happened at this point.
And one of the things that I had mentioned before was about the book. Now I think it's called Ostatning, but it's the Swedish art of the Swedish art of death cleaning. And so death cleaning obviously is that level of spring clean, but at a much deeper level. And the whole concept behind it was this lady who was like in her 80s wrote this book, but it's very much that kind of practice of, if you're downsizing, how to go through everything, but to really honor the things that you've accumulated over the years, but also to really mark the things that you want others to have after you're gone, but also to look at things maybe that you were gifted over the years. Quite often when people, like when loved ones die, we're given things that they feel that we would have wanted, or things that we may associate. I know, like I've a couple of things from my grandmother and I absolutely love them, but they would mean nothing to anyone else. So again, looking at those things, but to even mark if there's a piece of art, if there's some jewelry, how do you actually take note of that to then go, well, I would like this person to have it? And quite often looking at things like end of life planning, we all jump to the initial, well, I have a will, or I haven't got a will. But the will is the one that will obviously have things that are of financial value, your assets, your belongings, who gets what. But actually, it's nearly the importance of gifting things while you're still alive, because it has much more meaning in that kind of transaction. But I know that the death cleaning part it's one thing that I'm a big advocate of. I think everybody should do that deep clean, because we realize how much stuff that we actually keep that may not have any relevance to us anymore. What do you actually do with all of the things that people no longer want to keep?
So I think, well, just on the point of deciding who's going to get stuff, very often, because it's so difficult and so overwhelming to let items go, very often we can say, oh, I'll give this to my sister, or I'll give this to my friend, or the neighbor down the road, her kids will need this, and this. And so we're pushing our stuff onto other people, or we're holding onto stuff, oh, look, do you know what? I'm going to keep all those toys and put them up to the attic because my grandkids might want them, but my eldest child is 14, so the chances that grandkids are going to materialize are going to be a good while away. So all you're doing is avoiding the decision there. So and you're pushing the responsibility onto somebody else, which you mightn't necessarily mean to do. So it's much better to really be mindful as to what do other people want. With Swedish death cleaning, it's about taking the pressure off your loved ones to deal. They're already breathing, and now they have to deal with all your stuff. And so it's taking that pressure off. And we don't have to be older in order to have that sort of mentality. So when you're decluttering your house on a Saturday afternoon and you decide, oh, I can give this stuff to X, Y, and Z. Well, but do X, Y, and Z actually want it? So that's the first thing about that. But then where do we bring things, and where do we let items go? Well, we give them to charity as much as possible. So it really depends on the item. So we can donate to charities, we can donate to animal rescue centers. So it really depends on the item. But we always try and get the item, especially if it's a good item, to a good home, or up on the likes of adverts and pick up for free or something like that. So rather than just firing it into a bin.
And do you ever get involved on the other side of things, like where people are nearly like the interior decorators or the designers finding old items maybe to furnish somebody's house. Do you ever kind of connect in on the other side? No.
No, you can do that.
No, don't add, just remove.
Not to my to-do list.
Yeah. And I know, like, I know you have on your website, and I would encourage everybody that's here to go on to organisechaos.ie and to sign up for the 20 tips. But can you share some of those tips with us here?
Yeah, so what I have on my website at the moment is a free guide that helps people to make decisions around what's going to stay and what's going to go. Because that is just the number one thing that people say to me is like, I really struggle with how to know what's going to go and what's going to stay. So first of all, in the guide, we're talking all about our mindset and why we are second guessing ourselves and why it's so hard, and just trying to understand this whole process rather than, because that's going to, if we understand it a little bit more, then it might help us make different decisions. But then the prompts that we do, we go through various different items around the house. So for example, with clothes, if you haven't worn something for a number of months, then one of the tips might be to turn all the hangers around in an opposite direction and look 6 months later on whichever hangers, and then every time you wear an item, you put it back the right way. And then after 6 months, whichever one has the hanger turned the wrong way, then you clearly haven't been wearing it. So therefore, do you really use it? And so that's just one example. But
and actually, just on that point, I watched a very interesting interview that you gave. I don't know, was it with the Irish Independent? There was one, I don't know where it was. There was one, and it was really interesting, but it was that detail as well about the size of hanger that you use for your clothes. And that was something I hadn't thought of before, that actually it's not necessarily the amount of clothes that can take up the space in your hanger and your wardrobe, but it can actually be the size of the hangers. That
absolutely, yeah, it makes such a difference. Like, I mean, aside from as I was saying, like the beauty of this organization, aesthetically pleasing, is having your hangers matching, and it's a wonderful way to make over your wardrobe on a limited budget. But from a practical point of view, if you are struggling to let go of clothes in particular, then if you select a slimmer hanger, you're going to be able to keep more clothes because they take up less space on the hanger. So but also if you love your clothes as well, then you should be nurturing them. And the way to do that is on a proper hanger, not on a wire hanger, which is going to end up getting hot and pulled and damage your clothing. So that is, again, another reason to really look at those sorts of things,
And one other thing I wanted to ask is, like, with regard to the type of storage, what would you recommend when it comes to how to effectively store your items? So whether it could be makeup, books, I would presume, are an easy one because they usually fit quite well on bookshelves. But when it's for smaller items like jewelry, makeup, odds and ends, are there specific go-to items that you would recommend?
So I think the first thing to say about when you're trying to organize your home, that starts with decluttering your home, not with storage.
Yeah.
So you declutter first and you get storage later. Very often we think, I'll just run to the shops and I'll buy a couple of boxes, and then the boxes don't either fit the space or fit the stuff, and then all of a sudden the boxes are now cluttered. So the irony of it all. So but then but when you do get to the organization, which is, as we were saying earlier, the more exciting part, what you have to do is you have to choose storage based on the size of the category and then the available space that you have. So it really depends. That's a very open question. That it really depends on the type of item that you're talking about. For example, with makeup, you mentioned makeup. People might like to see that so that they can visually see all makeup. And so therefore you're going to go for clear acrylic storage. Whereas other people they much prefer to have everything closed off and not see anything. So it depends on how visual you are as an individual. And so therefore you're going to get containers that you can't see through or that have lids. And so you're closing everything off, but you're marking it with a label so that you're still able to find it.
Yeah, actually, I did that, I think, at the beginning of the year. And when I had just moved, went through all of the cupboards, the presses, everything that was out of date, gone. But I had all these lovely Kilner jars, which I just absolutely adore. And the same thing went and started to label every single thing of the expiry date. And I was very pleased with myself. But as soon as something runs out, you then have to relabel it and do the whole lot. But it definitely, yeah, for me, I'm much more of a visual person. So I like to see everything, but I don't necessarily want to see everything exposed on shelves. Like some people like open shelves, other people like closed. So it is really that thing about your personal taste as well.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
In the 20 tips, any other ones that you want to share with us?
Oh,
I don't want obviously to give it all away because we want people to sign up and download.
Oh my God, I'm just trying to think now. You've put me on the spot for my items. Let me see. Another tip that I had for making decisions. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm drawing.
No problem. Well, I would say is you've shared so many. So if anybody's just joining us, you can follow at livinglegacy.ie and see the recording back of this and get some more. One of the things as well that we like at Living Legacy, I would always ask people is to consider like what is their legacy lived to date? What's their legacy yet to create? So for you, what is your legacy so far?
Yes, you were asking me this a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh goodness. Like, oh, well, like as you were saying, I think my book is a good legacy. I think that I was the first, I think the first organizer in the country. So I was, helped introduce this industry into the country. So that's a nice legacy.
It's a great achievement.
Yeah, I think but I think also with regards to the legacy that maybe it's not up to me to say what my legacy is, that maybe that is sort of something that will be decided after I'm gone. For example, like my, one thing that was evident when my mother died was how many friends she had. And how many people just spoke so lovely about how good and kind she was. And so that for me is like one of her legacies, is that she was such a lovely friend. And so that would be something nice. I would hope that I'd help as many people as I could with the talents that I've been blessed with, I suppose.
Nice. And then what's your legacy yet to create? I know you say you don't get to choose what your legacy will be after you go, but you do get to choose what you want to do now for the years to come.
Well, I'd love to write another book or something like that, but I don't really know. No, I'm like, that is something that I need your help with, Jen, to figure that out.
Absolutely. Oh, happy to help. You can help me sort my home out. I'll help you sort your legacy out. Absolutely.
It is a lovely thing to brainstorm and sit back and meditate on and that, so it has definitely been working away in my subconscious there the last few days, but I haven't come up with an answer yet.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely something that percolates for a while. And even when you decide, oh, I'd like it to be this, things happen throughout life that end up putting us on little detours. So what we think we want to do in the next year, 5 years, 10 years could often be changed direction because of circumstances.
Yeah, I certainly didn't want to rush that answer when you asked it of me. I didn't want to just rush it, and so I've that needs a bit of thinking time.
Yeah, good. Well, I'll check back in with you now. One of the other, I suppose, the homeworks that I tend to give, and I'm not in any way expecting you to have all of these answers, but again, it's just making people, I suppose, take stock. And so I like to make the visitors on our Living Legacy conversation, our guests, I suppose, kind of put them on the spot by asking. One of the exercises I do with clients is what I would call my fives. It's that kind of, what 5 things would you like to, new things would you like to try in the coming year? What 5 things would you like to achieve? What 5 places would you like to visit? And there was no particular rhyme or reason for why they were the 5s, but I just did them for years on end. Then I stopped because a friend said it was really irritating because I kept kind of going, and I've done this, tick, 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 tick. So it was that thing of putting other people under pressure. So now.
Oh, but okay, yeah.
Go on. What are you going to say?
Well, but that's like I would get that a bit, like with regards to organization, in that it puts other people under pressure. But for me, you only declutter and organize if it is something that is stressing you out and is impacting your life.
Yeah.
And if the stress is getting too much and it's affecting your life and affecting your family, then you do something about it. But of course, that goes with any problem, you know, that's that sort of way. Any sort of lifestyle change that you want to make, it comes to a point where this problem is getting too much. So you either continue to moan about it or else you do something about it. So I think that if creating goals and lists and stuff helps you with your life and it affects other people, then that's their reaction.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, totally.
Their reaction.
Totally agree.
You know, like, I mean, I would have people, you know, sometimes go, oh, don't judge me on my house, but they've just judged me on my personality.
Yeah.
So, like, I would never do that, because if I did that, I wouldn't have a business.
Yeah.
I'm awkward to be going in and trying to help people. So
I think, it's an interesting one, because I remember when I lived abroad, and one of the things was that you were expected to have a cleaner in the house. And I never had a cleaner, and I felt really uncomfortable about it, because I actually get great joy from cleaning. The only two things I don't like are washing floors and ironing. So I thought, well, if I can give that to somebody else, great. But it was still that thing of feeling like I needed to clean the house before the cleaner came. So it was, I would imagine you probably get people that want to clean before you come.
Absolutely, happens all the time. I have to tell them not to do that, because I need to see the challenges in the space so that I can help fix them.
Yeah, no, God, that's fantastic. So going back to the question that I think, I don't know whether you're trying to avoid it or not, but in terms of 5, so in terms of, say, new things to try or achieve in the coming year, what will it be for you?
Okay, well, I really came up with, so it was 5 things to try, 5 things to achieve, and 5
places to visit.
Okay, so I rattled those off really, really quickly. They were fine, yeah. So what I did was I went from July to July rather than July to December. Okay, in my head. See,
no, that's perfect. That's it. A year from now, yeah.
So I said I'd love to go to Amsterdam and Luxembourg, and where was the other place I wanted to go to? Oh my God, I had 5. Sugar, I should have looked up this before we went live, Jen. I said I wanted to visit Wimbledon. I've been saying about that for years, and I still haven't done it, and I'm raging that I still haven't done it. So that's that. And there was 2 others which I filled in. I can't remember right now. And then 5 things to achieve. I want to write another book, and I want to get grade 7 in my singing. I just got grade 6.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, I just got grade 6, so I want to get grade 7. On that, and then that was the end of that. I couldn't think of 3 other things, but I'll work on it. And then 5 things to try. Now I've done it before, so it's not brand new. So I want to go back to playing tennis.
Nice, yeah.
So that was one of the things to try. There was another one. I had 2 under that one as well, and I'm blanking. Oh, sugar.
Well, you know what? You can let me know, but once you know what they are.
Go to my homework, Jen. Oh no.
I know the beloved homework. So I think bringing back the work that you do, and especially when it comes to something like the work that I do, which is like, I'm here to deal with people and help them get their plans in place while they're healthy, well, and able, so that they can get on with their life, rather than dealing with people, say, that maybe at end of life. I haven't yet done that, and I'm much more kind of dealing with the carers, or the staff of residential nursing homes, rather than the people at end of life themselves. Have you had any kind of, I suppose, experience of dealing with people that may be kind of either, from a place of grief, now have to go through belongings that either theirs to let go, or maybe that were somebody else's?
So it's really interesting with what we do in that, and I don't know whether other organisers around the country would find the same or different, but for us, I get inquiries about this, but I haven't got a client from it. because I think the reason being is that usually the inquiry comes in very soon after the death, and people are reacting to the situation that has just happened.
Yeah.
Rather than allowing a bit of time. I usually reply by saying, I think you need to allow a bit of time here, because you're going to make an entirely different set of decisions in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months' time, rather than right now.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, you know, when you work with us, you're like, you've got an appointment, you paid money, you're under pressure, and maybe people just aren't ready for that just yet, you know. So so we get the inquiries, but not
the follow through. And actually, probably because that's a very good piece of advice, is actually just don't rush into it. So, and even whether it could be a divorce, a separation, moving house, you know, the death of a loved one, all of these things are the closing of chapters in our life. They're the end of something. And so rushing in to try and just fix it all can actually leave a void rather than a nice space. And so you don't necessarily want that void of, oh my God, I've just thrown out a load of things that actually I now want to get back. I don't know if you've ever seen that. There's a show called The Split. It was out a few years ago, gorgeous show. And it was on BBC, and it was these 3 sisters and a mother, and they ran a divorce firm. They were lawyers. And in that, one of them, her husband had died, and she gave away all of his stuff and then panicked, but was able to get the stuff back. But it was just that thing, that kind of cathartic thing. She felt like, oh, I need to just move on, but then said, actually, I'm not ready. So that's the same thing, even in terms of where we're guiding people on the end of life piece. It's not about the ending, but it's just about making things easier for your loved ones after you're gone. We all don't get a choice as to when we go. So why not sort things out now? And then it actually allows you to enjoy the things you have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, you know, around grief, you have to be ready, and very often we don't allow for the emotions that come up there. But decluttering in general has a huge emotional connection, because we are emotionally attached to all our items, and we also suffer loss. Humans feel loss more than they feel the positivity of gain. So even though you are feeling fantastic about clearing out your house and feeling motivated, and that's all great, you're still going to feel the loss that little bit more, or some people will. So there has to be an awareness around the emotions that will come up, and the emotions that come up with decision making. So now, I think with regards to moving house and everything, I think there you have to put yourself under a little bit of pressure, I think, till items go, because otherwise you can be just moving with a load of rubbish that you just don't want for your new life. So I think there is a balance between, when it comes to decluttering, you do really have to get a balance between giving yourself a break and giving yourself a kick up the ass. So, you know, it is that balance, trying to strike that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it is just that letting go, but it's the idea of, by doing this, all of this kind of decluttering now and getting yourself organized, really allows you to really appreciate all the things that you have.
Oh, absolutely. And it brings so much positive energy in as well, and extra new opportunities and everything. It's like getting fit and going for exercise. You are dreading it, but you are going to feel so much better after it, and you're going to wonder why you never did it before. Yes. So it's such a positive thing to do. You just have to ride the wave, get through it.
Absolutely. And so in terms of, if people want to learn the surfing of decluttering, as you say, riding the wave, where can they actually connect in with you?
Yeah, pop over to my website, is organisedchaos.ie, or here on Instagram, Organised Chaos Ireland. We're also over on LinkedIn, and of course my newsletter as well, which you'll find through the website.
And also just to give a shout out to your book, Organize Chaos, or sorry, Organize, should I say, Organize Chaos being the business, Organize, which you can get in your local bookstore and online as well from your preferred supplier. So for now, Sarah Reynolds, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here at Living Legacy and for our Living Legacy conversations. We'll definitely check back in with you, see if we can fill that kind of fives list as well, and also see the legacy that you've yet to create. But for now, again, just want to say thanks so much. Really recommend everybody go and download the guide and get the 20 tips, and make sure to kind of learn from Sarah, who's got just this wealth of experience and knowledge, and get us all, I suppose, to live our best lives in order and free of the chaos. So thank you so much, Sarah, and we look forward to connecting with you again in the future.
Thanks a million, Jen. Thanks for having me.